Hi guys, my name is Olivia. I'm an occupational therapy student working at Athletico for the next couple of weeks. I've been there for 12 weeks now. And so I have done a lot of research about sleep and getting good quality sleep. And so that's what I'm here to talk to y'all about today. Starting off, how many hours, who's brave enough to tell me how many hours of sleep they get a night? Go for it.
5 to 7.
5 to 7. Any more, any less?
7, 8.
7, 8. Cool.
4 to 6.
4 to 6. All right. We got a wide range. Cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty. The goal for your guys' age, especially with how active you are, is to get at least 7, 9, 8, 9 is a good number for you guys. So I'm gonna throw out a few vocab terms. We're gonna go over them. These are things that you've probably heard before. You may not know what they actually mean or how they work in your brain, but we're gonna dive in and explain those, kind of debunk all those today. So you've probably heard of circadian rhythms. Does that ring a bell to people? Some yes, some no. So these they determine what you do during the day. So kind of in the morning, circadian rhythm increases kind of right away in the morning. It helps wake you up. It helps, oh, I'm hungry in the morning. I need to do things. It kind of works with the sunlight. And so as the sun rises, it starts your day. It kind of hits a peak in the afternoon, starts to dip down in the evening. And so that's when you start kind of feeling tired, and there's some other hormones and things in play in that evening time. But your circadian rhythm determines your activity levels, your peak performance during the day, what time you eat, things of that sort. The next one is melatonin. Is melatonin familiar?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a hormone that's released shortly after dusk. So that's kind of right as the sun's going down. And it continues to be released until about dawn, so right as the sun's coming up. So it doesn't help at all with the generation of sleep. It doesn't help you sleep more. It just helps your body figure out, oh, it's time to start winding down. It's time to go to sleep. So that's why actually people who take melatonin, it's doing less than more, because it doesn't actually help you go to sleep or stay asleep. It just is a hormone that lets your body recognize, oh, it's time to start going to sleep. The last one is adenosine. So that's kind of a strange word. I'll write it up on here. A-D-E-N-O-S-I-N-E. That's also a hormone. This is the kicker that helps you aid with sleep. It's a sleep pressure hormone. It builds up during the day, and right at about bedtime, it's at its peak. And so that's like, I gotta sleep now. So it builds up during the day and then kind of crashes at night. It kind of looks like a wave in the ocean. It'll build up and then it'll crash. So to make this all make sense, I'm gonna draw a little graph here. Here's our timeline for the day. Here's 7 a.m., 11 p.m., 7 a.m., 11 p.m., 7 a.m. Okay. Blue is going to be our circadian rhythms. So they come up and they come down. They come up and down and up. Just like that. So they hit the peak kind of midday, they crash, and they come up. Red adenosine, this comes up, hits the peak, and then it crashes. It comes up and hits the peak, and then it crashes. So you'll see your urge to be awake is when this is a small arrow. Adenosine is rising, and circadian rhythm is low. So this is awake. Your urge to be asleep is when adenosine is high and your circadian rhythms are dipping down. So this is So the bigger the gap, the more you're gonna feel drowsy, the more you're gonna wanna go to sleep. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. So once you get asleep, there are two kinds of sleep cycles that you go through during the night. They're called NREM and REM. Are those familiar to anyone? Okay, I'll explain both. So you go through multiple cycles of both types of sleep at night. They start out at about 10 to 15 minutes, and as you sleep, they build up to about 45-minute cycles. So NREM is that really restorative sleep. If you had any kind of micro traumas to your body during the day, it kind of helps restore those. It's relaxing for your brain. All the things that you learn at school, that's when they're transferred to long-term memory. So you keep them in short-term memory until you go to sleep. During your NREM sleep, that's when it's transferred to long-term. Anything you learn at practice. NREM sleep is when the connection is made to be better at the next practice. During REM sleep, this is important because during NREM sleep, brain wave is low. There's low brain activity. REM sleep, that spikes up. That's when you dream. REM sleep is when you dream. It's a really good stress reliever for your brain during REM sleep. And that is kind of when people don't get good REM sleep, that's when they feel really stressed out during the day, is when they don't get that stress hormone release during the night. So there are other things about getting good sleep. We've kind of covered the basics of sleep as a whole. Now we're going to transition to why do we need to get good sleep. So the first part is it keeps you healthy. I saw this study, and it was from a professor at University of California, San Francisco. I don't know how he got participants for this, but he did. He got 150 adults, and they agreed to getting the common cold virus shot up into their sinuses. So they agreed to it. He gave them the cold virus, and he split them into two groups and said, those of you in this group get 5 hours of sleep. Those of you in this group get 7 hours of sleep. The group that got 5 hours of sleep got the cold 50% of the time. The group who got 7 hours of sleep got the cold only 18% of the time. So that really, your NREM sleep, you're getting that quality sleep, you're getting that 1 to 2 extra cycles, that really helps you stay healthy. And so it's really important to get that amount of cycles of sleep and that many hours of sleep. A full consistent night's sleep also increases your body's natural killer cell quantity. That just means that it helps increase the amount of cells that would attack cancer cells. So it prevents your risk of cancer, which is always something to be mindful of, get on top of, and you can do that by getting 8 hours of sleep at night. The next thing that is beneficial for is memory. So whether it's at school or at practice, you want to be able to remember drills, what you learned in the classroom, like other choreography for our dancers, plays during a game. So you do that during NREM sleep, like we talked about, transferring from short-term memory to long-term memory. When you sleep after a practice, you increase your memory by 20%. You increase your ability to learn new information by 20%, which I think that's really significant in the way that not only can you remember what you did, but you increase your ability to learn new stuff on top of that. The brain also has these electrical signals called sleep spindles, and those increase your ability to learn more information on top of that. It kind of connects the pathway from brain to body. So you can think about doing the play all that you want, but if your body is just not doing it, then getting extra sleep will help be beneficial for that. Another part of memory is that you may come across this sometimes of you're just walking to a space and you're like, oh my gosh, I've smelled this smell before, but I just don't know where I remember it from. It's because your brain actually tags smells or sounds or anything, and that's how it's stored in the long-term memory. So sleep will help increase that ability to remember it. It will increase those tagging capabilities by 40%. So while you're going through these extra cycles, getting a good quality amount of sleep, you'll be able to tag and restore and have more of a sensory memory, a full sensory memory, by 40%. That's why a lot of people will listen to a certain kind of music while they're studying, or they'll chew the same flavor of gum while they're studying, and then they'll chew that same gum taking a test, is because that's the tagged memory, and that'll help you remember information.
Have any of you guys done that before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Have you had like good success with that? I mean, it helped?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting how just having that one extra sensory thing will kind of create the whole experience for you, and you can kind of simulate taking the test before you even take the test. So you all are obviously athletes. You want to know, how can I get better in my sport? How can I get better in my activity? By sleeping. What does sleep have to do with that? So have you ever been in a practice where you're drilling and drilling and drilling and it's just not clicking? Like it all makes sense in your brain, but it's just not going with your body. Sure. So you're definitely not alone in that. You may or may not have seen this book on TikTok, but I read this book during college. This was kind of what I based all my capstone research on, and it was by Dr. Matthew Walker. It's called Why We Sleep. He did a whole study. It wasn't people actually playing sports, but it was people doing a keystroke activity, and so they were instructed on how to do the keystroke, what pattern it had to be in, and then he divided the people into a nap group and a not nap group. And so they practiced the keystroke, and then they divided them into a nap group, sent people to take a nap, and then the other people were just allowed to practice yet. And then he brought the nap group back, and they were able to do it. Just no problem. The sleep spindles had made the connection from the brain to the body, and they were able to do it. So that's why you see people like Usain Bolt at the Olympics. He can commonly be found napping right before a race because he's trying to achieve that peak performance right before he needs to perform at his maximum capacity. So it would be a good idea, if you guys have an evening practice, to take like a 30-45 minute nap before that practice. And that will help kind of rejuvenate your body. You go through a cycle or two of NREM and REM, and then you'll be able to perform better at practice. You can do it before a game too, or a performance, and that'll help create that maximum performance for you. So to wrap up, I want to talk about some real world things that you guys can do today to help you get better quality sleep. So we humans are creatures of habit. Some people are more type B, some people are more type A. Type A people, no creatures of habit. Type B people, they like to have a little more spontaneity in their life. But when it comes to sleep, your body reacts best to going to sleep and waking up at around the same time every day, even on the weekends. So I know, especially in high school and college, we hit a schedule during the week, and then maybe on the weekends you stay up till 12, 1, and then you sleep in till 9, 10. That doesn't really work for your body. So if you hit a routine and stick to it all 7 days of the week, you should see some benefit during those daytime hours that you're awake. This is kind of self-explanatory, but even I slip up from now and again. Avoiding caffeine and other drinks right before bed other than water. So number one, it can keep you from actually falling asleep because it's caffeine. And number two, it interrupts that NREM restorative sleep that kind of transfers the memories from short-term to long-term. When you have caffeine and you have that extra input in your brain, that really disrupts the restorative sleep. The third thing is keeping your bedroom darker or kind of having soft lighting in the evening. That just kind of works with the circadian rhythms here of, yeah, this is daylight, like these lights, obviously it's telling you stay awake. And then as this starts dipping down kind of later in the evening, that's when you're like, oh, I might not need my overhead light on in my room, maybe just a lamp will be good. And that'll kind of cue your body to start like calming down for the night and then kind of preparing for your sleep. Avoiding distractions also helps. Your body needs to actually dip down in your core temperature 1 to 2 degrees before you fall asleep. So that's why a lot of people like sleeping in a cold room rather than a hot room, is because that helps with the onset of sleep. And the final tip is that if you cannot fall asleep within the first 10 to 20 minutes, you're kind of tossing and turning at night, not really able to fall asleep, you should do a relaxing activity like reading or just kind of getting up and taking a walk, maybe going downstairs, getting a glass of water or something, and then trying to sleep again. Try not to go on your phone because blue light, I probably sound like some of your parents, but blue light actually simulates sunlight, so that will also throw off your circadian rhythms. The blue light goes to your eyes and it tricks your brain into thinking, oh, it's daylight, I should be awake. And so that's actually prolonging your amount of time that you're not able to fall asleep. So those are tips for things that you can do tonight, over the next week. Have you guys tried anything else to try and protect your sleep? No?
Sorry, excuse me. She talked about some like techniques of like going and getting a glass of water. Another one that I found that really helps and something that I utilize it's a progressive relaxation. And what it is you start down at your feet. You're laying down, and you flex your feet and hold it for good 10 seconds. And then you relax, and then you work your way up the chain, flexing your muscles. So you flex your feet, now you flex your lower leg muscles, and then you relax, and then you flex your quads, and then relax, flex your butt, and then relax, your low back, and then you keep going up the chain, shoulders, and that holding those and then relaxing will also help that body go into a state of relaxation where you can hopefully then get to sleep.
Yeah.
It's another one.
Yeah.
That's easy. It's easy to do.
Yeah. That one you don't even have to move out of bed for.
No, you don't have to move.
What other questions do you guys have? Yeah.
So like, I know personally, like if I were to like take a nap before practice, I get groggy and like I like find it harder to like wake myself up before practice.
Yeah.
Is that like, is it like just because of how long I'm napping, or like?